Right now, after Hurricane Helene damaged a manufacturing site in North Carolina for IV bags, how local healthcare systems are trying to work around a shortage. And it captivated thousands across the viewing area last night. The story behind last night's vivid display of the Northern Lights. And we get a behind-the-scenes look at how ballots are tracked and sent out to voters here in Dane County. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. And we start with some breaking news at 5. The Madison Fire Department with multiple other agencies on the scene of a 2-alarm fire. This is on Stargrass Drive. That's on the far west side of the Midtown Commons neighborhood. The fire broke out just over an hour ago. We go live to Ellie La Liberté, who is on the scene with more. Ellie?
Yeah, this scene starting about 4 o'clock today. Now, if I take a step out of the way here, you can see where a majority of that damage is to the top of this structure here. You can see those crews working up top. We've seen them hammering, axing off what looks like to be some of the damaged siding of this apartment complex. Now, it also looks like crews are starting to begin to pack up some of the hoses and things like that here. But when we arrived on scene, there was about 6 fire trucks here. Now, I spoke with a neighbor who actually saw when some of this smoke was breaking out and billowing up into the air. He saw that from across the complex here. Take a listen.
Just noticed like the clouds is kind of like not normal. It's kind of like hazy. So I just rushed in like where it came from, and then I saw there's already a firefighters in here like sitting it out, but it's just like a lot of smoke.
But for now, reporting on Madison's west side, Ellie La Liberté, News 3 Now.
All right, Ellie, thank you very much. We'll have more updates throughout the show. We also have breaking news out of Necedah. An Oregon man is charged in connection with the death of a 66-year-old Madison man. It was May 10th. The Juneau County Sheriff's Office responded to a man not breathing somewhere on 11th Avenue in the town of Necedah, and deputies discovered 66-year-old Daniel Asmussen of Madison dead. As a result of an investigation, 65-year-old Jeffrey Crompton of Oregon has been charged with first-degree intentional homicide and is being held at the Juneau County Jail on a $1 million bond. His first court date set for November 13th. A national IV supply shortage is impacting hospitals, changing the way that local hospitals have to operate. Tanisha Shaw spoke to health experts and a patient who has seen the change firsthand.
Hurricane Helene made landfall in late September. Now, residents all over the U.S. are dealing with the aftermath, specifically at hospitals.
I had noticed that they had not set up an IV, as they usually do, for procedures. And they said there was a nationwide shortage, and they're being very conservative in how they administer the saline solution.
John Karcher is a former anchor here at News 3 Now, and he recently underwent a day surgery.
I was not concerned at all. I mean, they're skilled orthopedic surgeons. They know what's going on. They know what their alternatives are. I was not worried at all.
Baxter is one of the biggest providers for IV supplies, and now they're closed after Helene hit North Carolina. Now, local hospitals are now monitoring how much saline they use.
The impact from Helene really took place down in Asheville, North Carolina, where our largest supplier of IV solutions sustained catastrophic damage to their largest plant.
UW Health also responded through a statement and said they're also monitoring supplies, and none of their scheduled procedures are impacted. Reporting in Madison, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
Tanisha, thank you. Warm today, then things change. Your first one forecast now. Chief Meteorologist Blaze Keller, I should say. Almost gave you a promotion there, Blaze.
Hey, thank you. I will take it. But Alex, our Chief Meteorologist, he's going to be in at 6, and I will let him stay not only Chief, but also do the news at 6 as well. We're going to talk about it later on in the show, but I have to quickly touch on just one of many of those beautiful photos coming out of that very strong G4 out of G5 geomagnetic solar storm, the Northern Lights last night. Again, just one of many. And if you want to see or submit your own photos, you can head on over to our weather tab on our website, and you can see just the dozens of those photos coming on in. The colors are based on how high the lights are actually in the atmosphere, not to mention the oxygen levels, and then closer to the Earth's surface, those nitrogen levels as well. So just kind of some interesting science there. Quickly, we are dealing with a little bit of smoke, but we do get a bit of a break as we head overnight into early Saturday, but then that refills in. Otherwise, it is going to be a quiet night into the 40s and 50s. We are tracking out some rain chances in the extended forecast.
Blaze, thank you. And he mentioned it. For the first time in a long time, probably for most of us, we were able to look up and see the northern lights, mostly only visible in very northern, isolated areas usually. Arman Rahman sheds some light on why so many of us here in southern Wisconsin could see the aurora borealis.
Normally, to see anything cool in the cosmos in Madison, you have to either head out to the countryside or up to UW-Madison's Washburn Observatory. But on Thursday night, the northern lights were visible from many places in the metro area. Jim Lattis, an astronomy professor and director of UW's Space Place, says Thursday night's aurora borealis was probably the brightest he's seen in 20 years. He says sunspots blast clouds of particles called coronal mass ejections out into space that interact with the magnetic fields 50 to 70 miles above the Earth. And since May, those sunspots have been busy.
As that solar activity drops off, then it'll become rare for a few years until the solar cycle comes back. So it kind of comes in clumps. We're in a good clump right now. So although they're rare overall, we should be alert because we could catch another one easily. It's often called space weather, which is a good analogy because we're always talking in terms of probabilities.
And Lattis says what's even more rare is how visible it was in areas of high light pollution. The 5 cameras atop the UW Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences building captured a time-lapse of the dancing lights right above the busy campus area. Coming up on News 3 Now at 6, find out what the space weather forecast will be going into the weekend and where you should plan to head if you want to catch a glimpse of the aurora borealis. In Madison, Arman Rahman, News 3 Now.
And dozens of our viewers have sent us photos of impressive light shows right above their homes and neighborhoods. You can find a slideshow of those up at channel3000.com. We are now just 25 days away from the election, and so far more than a third of absentee ballots have been cast. Over 500,000 ballots have been mailed to absentee voters in the state of Wisconsin. Around 200,000 have been returned. WISC Politics reports that back in 2020 during the pandemic, ballot return rates jumped to about 70% at this point before the election, but the 36% return rate we are now seeing is on par with a typical election. And with those hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots in circulation, one question that comes up is how do counties and the state keep track of all those ballots? Photojournalist Lance Height got the chance to take a look at how ballots are processed and sent out here in Dane County. Now, the county recently used an election grant to purchase a folding machine to help fold ballots and inserts, as well as a sorting machine to reduce any chances of human error. Jim Verbick, the deputy clerk of the city of Madison, says the machinery is helping with a large amount of requests.
We had about 24,000 in our initial batch that we got out, and we ran all those, and then every day we get additional requests for people to get absentee ballots. So we do about 400 or so a day of new requests that have come in, and we get those out within 24 hours.
Verbick says these sorting machines help guarantee election security by making sure those who requested ballots get the proper materials and that the machines will reject any errors in-house. 36 local Madison businesses will receive free training, mentoring, and networking opportunities through the City of Madison's Biz Ready program. $300,000 in federal money from the American Rescue Plan program is set aside for the Biz Ready plan. The core goal of the program is to help aspiring entrepreneurs innovate and thrive here in Madison. James Langer, Public Information Officer for the City of Madison's Department of Planning, Community, and Economic Development, says this 12-month program would give small businesses the tools they need to succeed.
Yeah, everybody will get a small grant as part of this, but really the program's more about giving folks the tools to really succeed and become successful business owners, especially, you know, if you didn't have the opportunity to go to business school, not everybody can afford to do that.
A total of 116 applications were submitted, with 43 being called in for interviews. 36 businesses were selected for the program. Now, orientation for those businesses starts on the 23rd of this month. Today, a sad day for all you Slurpee connoisseurs, as hundreds of 7-Eleven stores are closing their doors. The company says it'll be closing nearly 450 stores across North America, citing that they were underperforming or facing some other issues. However, this move only affects about 3% of the 13,000 stores owned in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It's unclear which stores will be closing. The Wilderness Resort in the Dells is offering what it calls an enchanted night walk through a canyon of wonders. It's called the Aquavia Lumina, a permanent attraction that is open to the public. Staff members say that guests enter a mile-long journey through the Wilderness Canyon to transform nature with magic water. Trevor Hurst, director of attractions for the Wilderness, says this is not your typical attraction.
It's a nighttime only attraction, open to the public. Family friendly. You know, we've had kids of all ages test it out. We have interactive features for the kids. unlike anything that most people have ever seen before. So I hope a lot of people come see it.
Hirsch says that if you want to try it out, there are kiosks on site to purchase tickets, but it would work better to buy tickets online as they are time slotted. Those tickets are $24.99 plus tax. Just ahead, enjoy the warmth today. Blaze will tell us about our cooler weekend first warn forecast, and we'll go back to the scene of that fire that broke out in the last hour or so at a multi-unit building on Madison's far west side. And on Wall Street, the Dow posting a big number to end the week, closing at a record high thanks to a 410-point climb. The S&P also at a record high close, up 35. The Nasdaq adds 61, and we'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now, brought to you by Cardinal Heating and Air Conditioning.
This shouldn't take too long, should it?
I'll have the unit up and running in a jiffy. Oh, sorry, I have to go to the shop. Sorry, I don't have that part either. Sorry, I don't have that part either.
But you said it would be quick. A fully stocked truck can make a huge difference. Call Cardinal.
My name is Bill. I am retired. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I live here in Wisconsin. I am not a political person, but Eric Hovde doesn't understand how important Social Security and Medicare are around here. I'm on Social Security, and Hovde said he absolutely supported cuts to Social Security and Medicare. Imagine working longer, paying into the system, and then poof, you're paying your bills with less. He knows it. Cutting Social Security and Medicare will cost us. He just doesn't care.
WinSenate is responsible for the content of this message.
Not everyone knows us, but in Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana, we are famous in our field. As a Sloan's technician, customer service is our specialty, whether you come to see us or we come to you. We are in the business of supporting your business, and we are highly trained to work on your John Deere equipment. At Sloan's, our loyalty lies with you. We depend on you, and we are proud to serve you. When it comes to service, you can count on us. Remember, think Sloan's first.
With Sweeto Metal Roofing, you get quality metal roofs installed by the best in the business. A metal roof means no fading, no storm repairs, true sustainability, and lower energy bills.
Sweeto Metal Roofing, the last roof you'll ever need.
Kamala Harris is going to significantly raise taxes.
Taxes are going to have to go up?
Kamala's plan will raise families' taxes by nearly $2,600 a year. Under Kamala, prices have already soared. Now she'd make it worse with even higher taxes.
Taxes are going to have to go up?
President Trump will cut taxes again. No taxes on tips, overtime, or Social Security.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Meet Sarah Kieski. You might see her walking around in her Woke Genius t-shirt. Radical, just like the groups that support her. Kieski supporters want to defund the police. Her allies want to give voting rights to illegals and make it easier for felons to vote. And Kieski is backed by a group that wants to let criminals out early. Want to know where Sarah Kieski stands? Just look at the company she keeps.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. Fields Volvo Cars Madison has the Volvo you want in stock and ready to drive home today. So stop by Fields Volvo Cars Madison and take a test drive.
Plus, you'll be part of Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, and gourmet coffee service.
And right now is a great time to get an offer like this.
Get 3.99% APR financing for up to 72 months on 2024 and 2025 Volvo XC40, XC60, and XC90 models at Fields Volvo Cars Madison. Go to volvocarsmadison.com.
Watching News 3 Now at 5. Moving forward.
Well, once again, another update to our top story. The Madison Fire Department responding with multiple other agencies. This is the scene of a 2-alarm fire on Stargrass Drive, a multi-unit building. It's located in the Midtown Commons neighborhood, just off Midtown and High Point roads. That fire broke out just over an hour or so ago. Fire crews continue to look for hot spots. They're working the roof of this condominium complex. It is not clear at this time how many residents have been affected by this fire. Well, the Wisconsin DNR and other local fire crews say that a fire at Rochecree State Park in Friendship has now been 100% contained. Officials say it started on the top of the Rochecree Mound stairway last Sunday. Now, pine needles and leaf litter was the main fuel for the fire, with minimal damage to local trees. The park's well-known 303-step stairway has been damaged, but hiking, they say, is set to resume soon. The cause of the fire still under investigation. It's time now to get a look at your first warn forecast with meteorologist Blaze Keller joining us. Blaze?
And the dry conditions continue on, making for a little bit of a better environment environment for grass fires and wildfires here in not only southern Wisconsin, but across the entire state. Not only do we have drought conditions, but it's been nearly 20 days since at least southern Wisconsin has seen any meaningful or beneficial rain. 20 days ago is when we picked up nearly 4 inches of rain. That then entered us into kind of this prolonged dry period once again. So our grand total over the last 19 days in the Madison area is 1/100th of an inch, which is just a mere 1% of the typical average amount of rain that we would otherwise see or accumulate between the 1st of October through today's date, which is about 9/10 of an inch or nearly an inch of rain. So we desperately need it. The drought conditions continue to worsen across the state, but there is some good news. Over the next 6 to 10 days, we're finally seeing green back across the map, indicating wetter than normal conditions in the forecast for a good portion of Wisconsin. I would say about 2/3 of the state kind of edge into that 33% chance of seeing wetter than normal conditions from the 17th through the 21st. And while 33% doesn't seem very high, we've been in the brown for quite some time that this little bit of green could really help us, even if it is just a couple tenths to maybe a half an inch of rain. The first chance we get is as we head into the weekend. A cold front's going to pass on through, and then a low pressure system is going to circulate through the Great Lakes region. We'll track that out here on Future Track. That's going to bring us our first real chance. But again, it's not going to be a heavy rainmaker. It's certainly not going to be a washout. This is probably going to put about maybe a 1/4 of an inch of rain back into the ground as we go Saturday into Sunday. So Saturday afternoon is when the cold front passes through. It's into Sunday afternoon that the low pressure system starts to move through the Great Lakes region, and you're starting to see these yellows, these oranges, these reds, indicating those heavier pockets of rain as we head into the noon time frame through about the late afternoon hours on Sunday. This is going to be some great news, but we continue to see even beyond that the kind of breakdown of the blocking pattern that has otherwise kept us on the drier side. So over the next 7 days, as I said, probably a couple tenths of an inch to maybe a 1/4 of an inch at best. But at this point, any rain is going to be greatly appreciated. So let's look 8 to 14 days out here in just a moment. But I mentioned a week ago that there's a high pressure system off the Pacific Northwest that's continuing to push systems into Canada. That looks to be being pushed further south and west, more into the Pacific. We're also going to watch as a high pressure system sets up across the deep south. That opens the Gulf of Mexico. Winds are going to be screaming out of the south, and we're going to watch as more moisture is moved northwards across the plains as we go into the start of next week, and we continue to sit underneath those greens as we go into the 19th through about the 25th. So we are starting to see the return of some much needed moisture. There's a look at your 7-day forecast. Again, the best chance for rain, at least in the most immediate future, is going to be this weekend. Let's quickly take a look at traffic here. As expected, maybe just some slowdowns along the belt line, but as we look south into Janesville, the north into the Dells, green on the roads, indicating pretty smooth sailing on the interstates.
All right, Blaze, thank you. Just ahead, a class reunion in Waukesha County inspired a man to bring back a bare bones high school tradition. That's next at 5.
News 3 Now First Warn Weather is brought to you by Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor.
Discover a shopping and design experience as comfortable as the furniture. Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor. Schedule your free design consultation today.
Billionaire banker Eric Hovde has a plan for Social Security.
Do you favor either raising the retirement age or cutting benefits?
I favor both.
Raising the retirement age?
You have to start changing the retirement age.
Hovde wants to raise the retirement age as high as 72. And Hovde just proposed cutting Social Security by 28%, costing the average beneficiary more than $6,000 a year. Eric Hovde, what's wrong with this guy?
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
Get an 11% rebate on everything at Menards. Check out our huge selection of carpet from Lutex Mills. Irreplaceable carpet is soft, luxurious, and provides ultimate comfort. Pick it up today for just $189 a square foot after rebate. Update any room with Tarkett laminate flooring and save big. Nautical Escape laminate flooring features waterproof technology and an attached pad for easy installation. Right now, only $219 a square foot after 11% rebate.
Save big money at Menards.
Think Sloan's First.
You know, the big thing about Sloan's is the ease of doing business. They make everything simple. We choose Sloan's and John Deere because we have availability of equipment, quality service, quality parts, and they have the ability to keep us up and running.
Gear up for fall savings time is on now at Sloan Implement. Get your John Deere Z530M with 1.9% for 36 months. Includes your 54-inch mowing deck.
Power up with Sloan's.
Think Sloan's First.
With high inflation, working families like mine are hurting, and Kamala Harris helped create this mess. Now, while Americans struggle, Kamala spent our tax dollars putting illegal immigrants up in hotel rooms, and she supported spending our tax dollars to give illegals sex changes. It's not just liberal, it's insane. Kamala Harris can never, ever be our president.
Preserve America PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
He murdered a father of 3, sentenced to life in prison. Kamala Harris pushed to use tax dollars to pay for his sex change.
I made sure that they changed the policy so that every transgender inmate would have access.
It sounds insane because it is insane. Kamala was the first to help pay for a prisoner's sex change.
The power that I had, I used it in a way that was about pushing for the movement, frankly, and the agenda.
Kamala's agenda is they, them, not you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Prices are up, wages are down, inflation is crushing Wisconsin families. Yet Sarah Kieski, she supports lifting revenue limits, allowing property tax rates to skyrocket unchecked. Even more radical, Kieski's backers want to ban natural gas to heat our homes, driving utility bills through the roof. Tax hikes and higher prices for families and those living on fixed incomes. That's Kieski's record, expensive and extreme. Reject Sarah Kieski and her radical agenda.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
A high school reunion in Wisconsin killed it. It was a Halloween display honoring the Skullview High class of '84. The creator says he was inspired by his own 40th class reunion this year. James Groh has the story.
It's that time where I get to cover one of my favorite stories I do every year. But first, I gotta ask, does this party seem dead to you, or is it just me? The Holy Hill Skeleton Display is back for its 25th year, and it's better than ever.
This year, Jimmy Zamzo went with the theme Skullview High's 40th class reunion. It was inspired by his own 40th high school reunion this year. He graduated in 1984 from Waukesha North. The school actually gave him old jerseys, band uniforms, t-shirts, and more to dress up the skeletons. But despite all those clothes,
clearly there was no dress code because they're revealing it all down to their bare bones.
One classmate from California out here, I had another classmate from Colorado out here. They all love it.
After 40 years, old friends were just dying to catch up.
Some of the scenes resemble photos from Jimmy's yearbook, like Joel on the parallel bars or Steve holding the state football championship trophy over his head. He also included the prom king and queen, Kurt and June.
I thought, what better way to celebrate, Waukesha North?
The display is on the road to Holy Hill Basilica, about 2 miles before the church. He changes the theme every Halloween. Other themes were a Tour de Skull, Till Death Do Us Part, and Surfin' USA.
So I was doing some research on the class of '84 for this story, and I found out that they had really high biology scores. They all aced the skeletal system.
The reunion even had classmates rekindling old flames. The cheerleaders were really kicking it on stage. Or have they already kicked it? And given this display, it's no surprise Jimmy has a lot of skeletons in his closet.
I think I'm over 300 now.
While his design changes every year, 2 things remain the same. He always incorporates a skeleton Donald Driver, and then there's the Rainbow Bridge, which honors pets who have passed away.
You just see the kids just love the different animals and stuff like that, so I kept doing that. And then I had other people reach out to me asking if they could put pictures of their pets that they lost on the bridge.
And we're back with a final check of your firstborn forecast after a short break.
When my husband got throat cancer, it wasn't just a health crisis. It was a financial one for my family. And that's something rural families know all too well. Joan Ballwig voted against expanding affordable health care for rural families and against bringing drug costs down. And that's one reason I decided to run against her. I'm Sarah Kieski, and I'm running for state senate. Because when someone you love needs medical care, the last thing you should have to worry about is how to pay for it.
No chemical additives, no artificial ingredients. We've made it this way for 5 generations.
Actually, Grandpa, it's more like 7 generations now, and we still make our roll sausage the very same way. Pork, salt, and spices. That's it.
It's the same delicious flavor and simple quality ingredients that has made it a mainstay in breakfast tables for over 130 years.
Trust Jones for honest-to-goodness sausage.
Quartz takes a different approach to health insurance. We know every life well lived is a journey, and we're here to light the way at every step. That's why for 40 years, we've been alongside the doctors and hospitals who know what their communities need. Because they're a part of them. Because we're a part of them. There's a fire burning in all of us. Let's ignite it together. Quartz. Find your spark.
Building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. Compare that to Trump. He fights for himself and his billionaire friends. He intends to enact a national sales tax, the Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle-class families by $4,000 a year. Instead of a tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans.
FFPAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States.
I cannot in good conscience endorse Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's former highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is too big a risk for America.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Coming up tonight on the CBS Evening News, millions of Florida residents are still waiting for their power to be restored as they work to recover from Hurricane Milton. We'll take a look at the lingering damage from the storm and how some families are coping with what they've lost. That and more headlines tonight on the CBS Evening News.
And we continue to follow breaking news. A multi-unit complex fire on Stargrass Drive on the far west side. Ellie LaLiberte now live on the scene with new details in just the last few minutes. Ellie?
Yeah, Eric, like you said, we're just learning some new information here. We're learning that no residents have been displaced and that no injuries have been reported. Now, we were also told that when crews arrived to the scene just after 4 p.m., that they saw fires in 2 different locations. Now, if I take a step out of the way here, you can see a majority of the damage right now from what it looks like on the outside at the top of that roof. That's where crews began fighting this fire, but they also tell us that they were inside fighting that fire as well. And if you can take a look, I'm not sure if you can see from here, there's still some folks up on that roof looking for hot spots. We saw them taking apart some materials, making sure that this building is safe, but it looks like the building is structurally sound. Now, when we got here, there was about 6 fire trucks, but this has been wrapping up a little bit, and it's an ongoing investigation. For now, reporting on Madison's west side, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
All right, Ellie, good news that not many people will be displaced by that.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, Blaze, final check of the forecast.
Tomorrow, we're going to watch as clouds increase, and then maybe further north and west, a few showers there towards the afternoon hours. On Saturday, we are beginning to see maybe this dry pattern coming to an end after a cooler with some rain chances this weekend. We're back into those 50s Monday and Tuesday, drying out. Overnight lows flirting with the freezing mark, if not getting below that. So maybe time to move in those plants, but we're back into those low 70s by the end of next week. So we're in that point of the year also where we go from maybe cool temperatures to start and then warm temperatures to end until we finally settle into winter.
It's kind of looking at that fall feel
yeah.
in the next few days. Blaze, thanks. We're back in 30 minutes for News 3 Now at 6. CBS Evening News is next. Stay tuned.